evening, everybody. Welcome back to Gooner Gathering. My name is Gooner Lee Meads, Lee Meadows, and we are here today to talk about a number of subjects, including obviously the Aston Villa game. In the men's game, we've got the Crystal Palace game. In the women's game to talk about. I'm sure there's other stories to talk about, and maybe a few words to say about the Zagreb game coming up tomorrow. To my right today, I am joined by Sam Wilson. How are you, mate?
Yeah, all good, thank you. Over this last week, I've tried to not think about the football at all, for good reason.
Don't know what you mean, mate.
Kind of accepting it is what it is at the minute. I keep saying that a lot. And yeah, trying to compose my thoughts as best as I can.
Well, that sounds like a good way to go. That genuinely does sound like the best way to do it, certainly on this channel. Right, I think we'll start with a little bit of news that was made aware to me sort of maybe about half an hour ago, thanks to Don Palmer. And this is coming straight out of the BBC website, okay? So this is more like serious news before we get on to discussing the football side of things, really, okay? So if you pass your mind back to the FA Cup defeat in the third round to Man United, when Kai Havertz, of course, missed some big chances in the game, missed the crucial penalty in the shootout. Now, if you remember, after that match, it was brought to the attention of Kai's wife that her and Kai have been the subject of some nasty words on, I think it was on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken. Basically, really nonsensical, nasty words said to Kai's wife about, oh, hope you have a miscarriage and all this sort of thing. Very, very much out of order when we're talking. We've just lost a football game, and now you're getting personal abuse sent to the relations of the players. So the news tonight is there's a 17-year-old boy who has been arrested tonight on the suspicion of malicious communications following the online abuse. Obviously, you don't need me to tell you that if you follow a football team, if you're any sort of decent sort of human being, you don't do that sort of thing to anybody. Obviously, we don't know the implications. I believe he's out on bail at the moment, and we'll see what happens with that. Is there any comments you want to say on this before we carry on?
The way I see it is, there's one thing calling somebody out when they haven't played very well, and then there's another that you then spitefully go and find somebody that's not even on the football pitch because they're an easy target to then go and spend and send some hurtful stuff to. So I'm really pleased that this has happened, and whoever did it is facing the punishment they should be doing. We've talked to this a lot. I think even on this channel, with things that said on social media should have the same ramifications if you said it to a person face to face. So yeah, it's really good something's being done about it. But obviously the situation is.
Yeah, and I think it's probably important to point out as well, you know, people like on this sort of platform, what we do here on YouTube and stuff, you know, I think it's absolutely fine to criticize people, whether they're players or managers or whatever, but there's a line you have to draw, and you keep it within that. You know, it's not difficult to figure out what are the correct boundaries to do so. You can say, oh, we shouldn't have missed this chance, but then to go ahead and do what's happened is, it's reprehensible. What would be interesting to see is the result of what's going to happen, and whether it will lead to a stadium ban. That's what I'd called for, certainly. This lad can't go to any Arsenal games in a couple of years or something. I suppose the wider question as well is, what, 17-year-old kid, should he be even allowed access on Instagram and stuff like that when it's so easy to do what he's done to anyone? But that's probably another debate for another matter. I think that's probably all the time I really want to take on that one. What we really are here for is to discuss football, really. And as much as we might want to forget about it because of what happened in the end, this is what this channel's about, so we better do it. Arsenal against Aston Villa, of course, on Saturday night, going into it. And, the players on the pitch warming up thinking, looks like Liverpool are going to slip out some points today against Brentford. And, or maybe there's a chance for us to claw the gap a little bit. Well, in fact, completely opposite happened. Liverpool managed to score 2 goals in injury time against Brentford. And, of course, we managed to slip up a 2-goal lead against Aston Villa. What we'll do first, we'll talk about the starting lineup. And obviously, there was a massive gap in our defence. And William Saliba has been reported as he's pulled his hamstring. And we had a big issue into who's going to fill the centre-back position. As it turned out, Timber moved across one to partner Gabriel. Partey playing at right back. I know that's a really popular decision amongst everybody. With Maitland Miles Lewis-Skelly, Odegaard, Rice, Marino, Martinelli, Trossard, and Kai Havertz. So I'll ask you, Sam, what did you think of that starting lineup? And is there anything that we could have done that might have been a bit more solid and might have done a bit better?
So apart from this illustrious right back position, I did say in a group chat that I'm in with a few of my friends that's probably the strongest lineup we can field with injuries. But as I thought about it, as much as I've not been Kivior's biggest fan over this year, wouldn't it have made more sense to put him at centre back and Timber at right back? Because although Timber did play well at the back, he isn't the tallest. So there's a couple of moments in that game, I think, had Saliba have been there, they wouldn't have led to goals. And yeah, I'm not saying I don't know if Kivior would have stopped those or not, but from my guesses, I think he's taller than Timber anyway. So we would have had a bit more of a chance, I think. So to me, that's a really simple thing when you've got a versatile player like Timber that can play in so many different positions. That obviously, at the best of times, you want to put in his best position, but with the injuries that we've got and the players that we've got available, surely that makes much more sense than this Partey experiment that hasn't gone so well so far.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think even Arteta said in the press conference today, actually, that it was a case of not wanting to necessarily do it, but literally having not really any viable options to change it. The thing with Kivior, and I thought about that to start with, and then it sort of made me think, oh well, hang on, if we do that, that would mean would potentially be having 2 left-footed centre backs, which again I don't think is necessarily ideal. Bless you, Amy. If you can hear chatting away in the background, you guys all know it's my Amy in the background reading her books and stuff. So, but yeah, obviously it's kind of unprecedented situation when so many players are missing. However, I'm not going to use injuries as an excuse for what actually happened during the game. Just to point out who was on the bench, just to give people an idea of what was and what wasn't available, as Aston Villa have actually lost their Champions League game today, as the final whistle is just blown now. So I believe they may just have shifted down a tad in the table down to 7th now, but they're still in a good position in terms of qualifying. Our bench on Saturday was Neto, Zinchenko, Tierney, Maldini, Kaguri, another youngster, Kivior, Jorginho, Sterling, Nathan Butler, OJ, who's a standout in Premier League too, and Ismail Kabia. And obviously, with so many youth players there, it just goes to show where we are down to bare bones. Hello, BX Gunner 81. Got nice to see BX back with us. It's good to see you, mate. Hello. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with. Started out off all right, and Arsenal had a lot of the ball for early doors, and we managed to go 1-0 up. Trossard on the left hand side managed to find Martinelli in the box. He hit his shot first time with the assistance of the Gold Lion technology. Goal was given. Emi Martinez desperately tried to push the ball away, but he couldn't manage it. Arsenal 1-0 up on 35 minutes. Any your thoughts on the opener?
It was good play. The only positive, there isn't many positives I can take from the game as a whole. But I think the only positive is that we're starting to see the Martinelli that we know. Those kind of flashes of brilliance are coming back, and probably was the best player on the pitch for us for the majority of the game. So, in the heaps of many obviously negatives, that was a big positive for me.
Yeah, and BX comes up with a very good point as well. I mean, Trossard well involved with the good parts of Arsenal's side. It's just from a starting position as well. A lot of us have said when he started, he's not really had the same impact. He had a good impact in this game. Looks like he has found a little bit of form, which is good. And as we said, we went in half time 1-0. I think crucially, Villa did make a substitution at half time, and they brought Dieng on, the left back in the second half. We'll get to him in a little bit. We go 2-0 up about 11 minutes into the second half. Again, Trossard involved in this. He outpaced Matt Cash, and he put the ball in. Kai Havertz responded to the criticism and everything that he's been getting by scoring first time finish, tap in finish. He couldn't really miss. But again, good for Kai to get back on the score sheet, and we're 2-0 up.
At that moment, from the dominance that we had, obviously we now know what happens, but from the dominance that we had, you thought that was 1 foot to the game. Obviously, at 2-0, you're never quite safe, as we often say on here, but you thought with the amount of the ball that we were having, you thought that was it, and you thought, right, this is the win that we really need right now. But obviously, in typical us fashion, never doing anything really easily, is what unfolded.
Yeah, I think you're right. Funny enough, Sam, when that goal went in, and as much as I was pleased for Kai, I was really thinking to myself, I think we're going to have to be careful here still, because Villa throughout the game had, especially there was an improvement I felt in the second half when Dieng come on, because I thought there was better delivery that was coming in already before their first goal, which we'll get to in just a second. And I was already thinking to myself, just after that goal, do you know what? I'd feel an awful lot better if we made a substitution about here, and maybe we brought Kieran Tierney on in the last Premier League game. I was kind of thinking to myself, you know what? I'd really like an extra body just in front of Lewis Skelly, just to try and secure it a little bit. Maybe a slight change of a bit of positions here a little bit. And before I had time to process that, hello, you all right, mate? You wanted to get in shot? Okay. Before we even had to do that, Villa got back into it. But I'll talk about that in a second. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, they had a couple of flashes in the first half, though, didn't they? There was that particular bad throw from Partey.
Oh gosh, yeah.
fell to Ollie Watkins, and I think he would have been disappointed that he didn't do better there. 'Cause I think he could have done.
Yeah.
So there was a couple. It wasn't, yes, we dominated, but it wasn't without a little bit of threat. I wouldn't go over the top and say there was lots, but there was moments, and they've got the players that can shift the game pretty quickly now. So it's always got to be in the back of your head, hasn't it? And I think we took one foot off the gas, really.
I think you're right. It was always in the back of my mind, they've got players that can really threaten here. And lo and behold, one of the substitutes, as I say, Dieng, who came on at half time, was a major part in getting Villa back into it. And it was his cross that managed to find Yuri Tillemans, I think, who scored his first goal of the season, diving header. He managed to out jump Mikel Merino. He was picking him up from the deep midfield position. And all of a sudden, Villa way back into the game, and things are getting very, very twitchy from that moment on.
Mm-hmm. You could tell, as much as we were at 2-0 and I thought we had 1 foot, as soon as they scored that second one, you knew exactly what was coming. It was that sort of thing. And just before they scored the second, they had one. They had a really good chance as well, I think, where they smacked the post.
Yeah.
So
I was going to come to that next.
Oh, sorry, I've just suddenly thought that. It was kind of like, it's one of those things. A couple of years ago, if we'd have been 2-0 up and they'd have scored, so particularly last season and the season before, you would have still felt that we had the strength to keep that lead. But this year, something's very different in that. So, yes, injuries haven't helped us, but it just doesn't look as solid. So it's back to kind of worrying a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's right, Sam. I mean, part of that is, let me go back to, if we talk about Arsenal in their pomp when I started watching them, right? Mm-hmm. And we had a back four, which was pretty much always the same. Winterburn, Bold, Adams, Dixon, maybe Keown you could throw in there as well. A defensive unit that had a knowledge and experience, and they knew what each and every one were doing all the time. And being that we've had to chop and change that back line, I think this is the first time I think we've used Timber at centre half in the Premier League, and it shows sometimes in that uncertainty. Always causes a bit of a unsettling in the defence. I know, Amy. I know it's cool. Do you know what's really cool, Amy? It's really cool to see Stone Cold Fella in the chat who says, "Gooner Gathering, great to see you, my friend. Always great to see you. It's great to see you there as well, mate. Thank you very much for tuning in. You all know what to do when you tune in. If you could give us a like and spike a bit of interest on the old YouTube algorithm, that is amazing." Amy's excited about it, as we all should be. Sam alluded to the Tillemans going very close again when he hit the post. The ball fell loose on the edge of the box, and again that was another warning sign, wasn't it? It was a warning shot. That if you don't concentrate, you're going to get in trouble here. Mm-hmm. Anything you want to add on that?
No, it just gives them confidence, doesn't it? It gives them confidence to say, do you know what? We ain't out of this one. If we just push on again, we've seen a little bit of weakness. Let's have them now, and that's exactly
it's the camera.
Yes, Amy, it's a camera. I can't do the whole thing. I'm on YouTube, mate.
Ready?
1, 2, 3. Cheese. Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah, Amy's playing along. Amy, let me tell you, we'll just go off the football review for just a second, right? My daughter has now discovered the art of doing selfies, right? And she grabbed the phone that I'm broadcasting from literally the other day and held it up to herself. And she done the countdown and she took this beautiful selfie. It is on my Facebook page. I will put it on the Gooner Gathering YouTube. Gooner Gathering. Yeah, I'll put it on the community page. I'll put it on the Twitter as well, the X, just so you can see what I mean. Cool. So if you're wondering, that's what she's getting all excited because she thinks she's going to get the old thing off me. Yes, Amy, it's cool. Now, can I carry on with the review? Because people are watching Guna, where you subscribe, yeah? Yeah, good girl. Right. I knew this would happen. This would be fun. I knew. If you want more professional YouTube streams like this, hit subscribe, right?
or watch mine from a couple of weeks ago. That was also a corker.
Of course, youtube.com/WrestleDog, mate. It's where nothing ever goes wrong.
Tony has been better since the broadcast.
That's good. We'll leave them questioning that. See the blooper on last week's. I think it was last week's show. Anyway, right. Okay, we're all smiling. We're going to have to lose the smiles here a bit, I think, because this is where it all goes pear-shaped. BX, thank you very much. You guys all know the situation with my family. Mrs. M is working very hard at Tesco Towers right now. So thank you very much. I'm glad you're all enjoying it. Right. Villa equaliser, which is something we didn't enjoy. Matty Cash, we know how good he is at getting balls in the penalty area. He manages to really trick us, actually. And you know what I was saying about backing up the left back a little bit? Yeah, cool. Bear in mind, Matty Cash is a right back, right? And he's up that left side against Lewis Skelly. If I had Kieran Tierney with him, I would have felt him a little bit better about things. He got done a little bit. Cash put across onto the left side. That really good ball in the penalty area. And there's Ollie Watkins. We know what he's like from close in. I don't even think he needed a touch. I think he just followed it in. Keeper didn't have a chance. And it's Desmond Tutu, mate.
Yeah. As it went in, obviously I was really frustrated, but I tried to take myself away from that and think to myself, what would it have been like in the summer if we'd have gone into Watkins? Would it have been the other way?
Yeah.
And it was one of those. And now you're obviously from 2-1 up, 2-2, to now thinking, right, we've got quite a while now to defend. So at that point, I thought, I feel safe at 2-2 now.
Yeah, it felt like the momentum was all going Villa's way, didn't it? I'll answer a little bit of what, Stone Cold said. Did I get to see many of the games over the weekend? I saw the Arsenal 1-4. I saw a bit of Ipswich against Man City. I saw all of the the Manchester Derby in the WSL, and I think I saw little snippets of everything else. BX says, and I think this is almost like in what we was talking about, having a relationship with the back line before. Our back line only having Raya and Gabriel in correct positions. I wasn't surprised we let them come back. Too many players in correct positions. As much as we want to praise Lewis Skelly for his work at left back, he isn't a natural left back. I know they've been training him up there to do that. We know Thomas Partey isn't a natural right back. I mean, yeah, that's plainly obvious. But as let me try and find there's a quote that Arteta put up. Here it is. He just talks about the knock-on effects. This is from the press conference on Arsenal.com today. The knock-on effects of moving players from midfield like Partey to right back. He says, "No, I had no choice. I didn't have another right back, just Jurian. No one else who plays when Jurian isn't available. His load is too high." And this is the other thing as well. He's played so much football since his big injury. You almost feel like it's any day now he's going to go. And unfortunately, he's like, he can't really get that time to rest because there's so many of the defenders out, isn't there? So he just said, and I don't have another right-sided centre back, which is what I spoke about before. Just to say hello to the Universe Galaxy. Can the audience call in and do you allow other topics, or how does this work? Really, I just wanted to have me and Sam talk on this thing today. But, feel free to, if there's a question regarding, as we're talking about the Arsenal Villa game, just add your comment in the comment section, and we'll get to it. Absolutely. Lots of comments coming in. Guna Gathering, she says, this is from Stone and Cold Fella. Want to give you a shout out there. Much respect. Thank you very much. Much respect to you as well. Don Palmer from Arsenal Domination is here as well. Done a really excellent video talking about PSR, the financial fair play sort of thing. That is on the channel. It's on his channel as well. Might even be on True Guna's channel now as well. That's worth checking out because it gives a really good insight in how we might be standing in terms of the transfer window. BX says you can't throw your best midfielder at right back. That's just criminal. Yeah, I kind of agree. But then who do you throw in at that right back position? Some people are saying to me, and I've seen on streams before, oh, well, you put Lewis Skelly at left back. Can he not do right back? Well, then you'll have a left-footed player playing at right back, and then you'll have Gabriel, and then you'll have Saliba, who are both left-side players. You don't have a real balance there, do you?
Yeah. It's really tough, isn't it? Because you've obviously got a logical solution that seems logical in your head, like we spoke about.
Yeah.
But then at the same time that I thought that, I didn't know that both the players would be left-footed.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, isn't it? It's kind of done to do and done to don't. Because if he does that and it goes wrong, he's going to get plated. If he does what he's doing and it goes wrong a little bit like it did, he's also going to get slated. So I don't think he can win in any situation, to be honest.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know the scene in The Simpsons where you see everyone with pitchforks outside? It almost feels like that. Everyone's ready to jump on him, no matter what he tries to do. And of course, I mean, some of the injuries I do understand are coming back. We'll talk about what's said a bit more in the press conference in a bit. But I mean, I know Ben's been out for some time, who was very much uninterrupted, pretty much at right back until this campaign. And of course, Tomiyasu, who has obviously had injury problems himself, he's been in and out, but I believe he's been seen on the training field again as well. So, that's good news. The comments keep on coming in, so we will get to the rest of it in just a minute. Dom says, do you think Arsenal will make a signing in the transfer window?
I think we're going to probably talk about that when we get to his presser, because I think that could spark a conversation.
Yeah. Absolutely. He also says, who would you guys play on the right side of defence, assuming Timber is either right back or right centre back? Who would you play on the right side?
Well, we've got Calafiori coming back in, haven't we? So it's all these things, isn't it? We've now got lots of players that are defenders. They have a position, but they are now being asked to play in every position possible. So actually, it must be confusing for them as well. Right, I'm going to play today one, and where am I going to play? Is Calafiori going to play up front? That's what he must be thinking instead. It's a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what to be honest.
I mean, the interesting one with Calafiori, right, is that I'm only seeing him on a game-by-game basis. I had not seen much of his work at all prior to coming to Arsenal. So, and obviously he's been very in and out. I don't think I've ever seen him on the right. So, but I know Don was talking about that on his channel the other day. Maybe it's worth a look, or I don't know. I mean, I do feel for Kivior a little bit, but then he's not exactly immune to having criticism himself. People will criticise either way. But as I said on our group chat, I was somewhat surprised Kivior never started against Villa. But then Dom said to me about the having the two left-sided players thing, and then I thought, well, yeah, I can understand that. But so Dom thinks that I guess Calafiori, right, had half for us at right back and did pretty well. So look, if it's an option there, yeah, maybe that might be the better one. If that means then you're putting Timber back at centre half, then you're putting Califoria at right back. It means you're putting Timber into the midfield, but probably with Rice and Ødegaard, and it'll be Marino who's to be the one to take out. That may be the most logical thing, perhaps.
And I
And then
think
at least then you're putting Thomas Partey in his more favoured position, perhaps.
and I think we've potentially got the option to do that tomorrow night in the game that doesn't have as much pressure on it as, say, Wolves or Newcastle. So you've
Yeah,
got obviously you've still got however you're going to put it on the bench, an option.
Yeah.
But if you're going to try California, I think it's going to be tomorrow night when there's less pressure on you.
Yeah.
Position. So I think it's worth a go.
yeah. So Dom says, I think, and I know what he kind of means here, because he's sort of saying that Kivior and Gabriel are similar types of players, not an ability, obviously, but or players that I don't like, but the few options, no good options for so many players unavailable. Yeah, I know what you mean. What you're saying is that I think you see the best of Kivior at the left side centre half, really, and if you're putting one sort of slightly out, it does again. It affects the natural balance of where they are, doesn't it? Right. I think we're cool in terms of getting through the comment section, Amy. So I think there's one key thing that we really need to talk about. It was funny, we were talking about momentum, and then I think the next real chance was actually the goal disallowed right at the end, the heartbreaker. So Declan Rice on the ball on the left-hand side, crosses the ball out and it gets headed out. Mikel Merino actually showed some lovely technique, but on the edge of the area, hits the ball, and I thought it went in clean, but no. It's hit Kai Havertz, and it did hit Kai's hand. I've got absolutely no complaints. It was the correct call by VAR. It was heartbreaking for us to think that we got something. I was even here with the girls and saying that, oh, that could be absolutely crucial, and then all of a sudden it's like, nope, that's gone from us now. So yeah, unfortunately, goal disallowed, 2-2. As soon as Sam's done with what he's doing, he may have some outside interference.
Yeah.
You need to put him in the steel cage or something.
That's been
fair enough. Anything you wanted to add on the disallowed goal? Okay, I think he can't talk at the moment, so we'll move on to the next. I think Merino also did hit the post right in the last knock-ins, but that was the last chance of it. And obviously, Arsenal have dropped 2 points in the game that we absolutely couldn't afford to lose, or we couldn't afford to drop any points with. You're back with me, mate. You're good.
Mm-hmm.
I've just mentioned Merino also hitting the post right at the end as well. Anything you wanted to add on the disallowed goal and the Merino chance at the end, or then we'll move on?
No, I don't think I need to think about it anymore, to be honest.
No. Okay, well, that's absolutely fair enough. Okay. So let's change gears a little bit, because we were asked a little bit of a question a little bit ago about potential in transfers coming in from Dom. Now, one player that does keep on getting mentioned, and is even by Fabrizio Romano today. Amy, can I talk, please? Yeah, nice and quiet for me. That's it. Good girl. Look, I'm on YouTube. People are watching, mate. Thank you. The player at Wolves, Matheus Cunha. No, I thought he'd signed a contract or agreed a contract. He hasn't signed it yet. But I'm also reading his agreed terms at Arsenal from, this is obviously Twitter rumour and innuendo or whatever you like. The Wolves manager was critical of his body language. I believe that's the other game I watched actually during the weekend. It was Chelsea, wasn't it? Chelsea against Wolves. I think doesn't he come towards his end of his contract? I think.
Yeah.
So there's talk of him potentially either coming to Arsenal on loan or as a full-time transfer. Amy, I'm busy, mate. Here's the thing, though, because we've got the two players on their Premier League loans, so that's Sterling and the goalkeeper Neto, who's not even had a minute on the field. I understand. I
You're
don't
going
know
to tell me something I don't know, and it's going to be horrific. Go on.
So here's the situation, right? So if they were to try and get him on loan, they're going to have to cancel the loan of either one of them players. So if we give yourself a couple of seconds to process that information, what do you make of it?
I don't know.
I'm mute. Sorry, just
It's. Obviously before that I didn't know that wasn't just acting. That generally didn't know that. So the obvious answer is to be really savage and say, "Oh, that's fine. Just cut one of the loans." But I don't think you can do that really, and because if we cut Neto's loan, we haven't got another goalkeeper that is of a level that we could rely on. And if we cut Sterling, let's say, I know he hasn't been fantastic, I get that. But if we cut Sterling out of that bench at the weekend, we have then no registered attacking players that we can rely on that bench at all.
Yeah.
So you put yourself in a situation where, yes, it will help one position. That's great.
Yeah.
But it will be at the drastic and dangerous effect to others, which, yeah, I don't know. That's just completely spun me.
I mean, here's the thing. You can picture it, can't you? They terminate Neto's loan. The next game, you can see Raya going to take a goal kick and pulls his hamstring or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or even worse, he could go and do a crazy moment and get himself sent off.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to predict the future here, but you can see it happening, can't you?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, if he is at the end of his sort of the last sort of 6 months of his contract, I wonder if it might be worth going for the jugular and try and getting him in full time. I don't know. If anything was to happen, I think that's a more likely thing to happen than someone like, I mean, the Brian and Burmo situation is an interesting one, Brentford, where the manager Thomas Frank seems to have taken absolutely he's not for sale, to it's going to take a massive fee to release him. Sounds similar to the old when even Tony was leaving, doesn't it? But
yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? If you're in a position like we are now, and we've not got a massive amount of time to go in the transfer window, clubs are going to be thinking, well, they are now desperate for a striker, which we are. And they're going to go, right, how much money can we get out of them? And also these clubs aren't going to want their big players to leave on loans. So we're in a massive rock and a hard place here. That has now got a lot worse now I know that piece of information. So yeah, I don't really know anymore. Apparently Cunha from Wolves has basically, knowing that we're interested in him because we were interested in the summer, is trying to force his way out, if you believe reports on various places, trying to force his way out and refusing to sign the contract, which obviously players can do if they want to leave. But whether we've got the the funds that Wolves want for him is obviously another question. We should have, but we don't know.
As you can see, I'm in full conversation with Amy here at the moment. So this is getting increasingly difficult. So,
Cool.
Amy, it's really cool. Can I carry on now? Yeah. Okay. Go back to your books, mate.
It's a camera.
Yes, Amy, it's a camera. Right.
Ready?
I want to get
Ready?
your
Ready?
reaction to some news about
Ready?
the Dons. A lot of people would like to take as the new manager of Arsenal Football Club.
Cool.
It's Carlo Ancelotti, Amy.
Cool.
There were some
Cool.
rumours that came out yesterday that
It's a
he was
camera.
going to leave
It's a
Real
camera.
Madrid,
It's a camera.
which he has actually denied. He's even said
It's a camera.
he wants to stay for Madrid for another 4 years. That might kill a few hopes of maybe the Don joining Arsenal, I'm afraid. Reaction to that news. I've got to mute.
It's
I've
a
got to mute.
camera.
Sorry.
I don't know. I think you'd if you believe in stuff like that, I think you're at a point where you'll believe absolutely anything, because it's pretty obvious, and it doesn't take a brain surgeon to work out that was never going to happen.
Right, as you can see, I literally have got my hands full now.
It's a
So,
camera.
yeah, Amy, do you want to say cheese to the camera? Go on, look into there.
Ready?
Say hello, Sam.
It's a camera.
Yeah, it's a camera. So we're going to say cheese. Okay, right. Camera off. Right, okay. So, Amy, I'm going to need you to go over there.
Cool. It's
Can
a
I
cam-
just let you, just for a minute, when we're talking about the news, Sam,
Cool.
can you just
Cool.
talk about the news about Jen Beattie, please?
Of course.
Cool.
So as of today, it's been released on the news that Jen Beattie is retired, which is obviously a massive loss to football. But our belief is said that she wants to go into media and punditry work, so that would be really good to still have her around. As I heard this, and this evening I've kind of looked over her career in terms of where she played and what she's won. So the things that are away from football, she did win the BBC Sports Personality. She was also awarded an MB in 2023. Back into football, she played 100 caps internationally for Scotland. She played for a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 17. She had no idea. So QPR, this is not time to the amount of time that she stayed or what year, etc. It's just all the teams collected together. So QPR, Rangers, Arsenal, Montpellier, Man City, Melbourne, and then more recently, after she left Arsenal, Bay City. Honours-wise in football with Arsenal, she won the Continental Cup twice. She won the FA Cup twice. And she did, I'm just going to fact check this one, because I want to make sure. It's going to be absolutely awful if I get the number of WSL titles with Arsenal wrong. She won 4, I was correct. In the time she was at Man City, she won the league once. She won the FA Cup twice, sorry, and the League Cup once. And then Melbourne City, she won the A League as well. So,
Cool.
yeah, I think that
Cool.
kind of speaks for itself.
Cool.
I don't really need to say anything else. If you've
Cool.
done that much in the space of your career,
Yeah,
the best to ever do it.
Cool.
absolutely.
Cool.
I'll echo them sentiments. She did an awful lot for the Arsenal when she was.
Cool.
We were saying off air that she'd been with Arsenal for absolutely years. and yeah, she's. I look forward to seeing what she does next. That's what we'll add to that. Staying with the women's game, we'll go a little bit more on the positive front just for a little bit, shall we? Because we will continue to cover the WSL here on the channel, and we had the game at Meadow Park against Crystal Palace on Sunday. So I'll let you lead this if you like, Sam, please.
I'll give you the spoiler of what happened before I go into it. We did win that game 5-0. I had Paul Heyman quote in my head, but I've completely forgotten it as I've
It's not a prediction, it's a spoiler.
That's the one.
My name is Goonally Meads.
So we went 1-0 up really early on, 6 minutes in. A corner was taken. It ricocheted around the box a little bit until it fell to Williamson and she poked it home. And that is everybody's going a little bit nuts at that moment, her included. That's her first goal in 679 days.
Is it really? Wow.
Yeah.
She came close to adding to it as well in the first half.
Yeah. So the first half and the start of the second half was much of us having complete domination, but not entirely doing a massive amount with it. To the point where I thought, the 4-0 that I predicted at the start of the game might not come at all. But then, in the 63rd minute, Caitlin Ford took a shot, which rebounded, and of course we bounced upon it. Shortly after, Bethany took a run through and finish, as Bethany does. And then, if you haven't seen the fourth goal, this is the one I would recommend. It was a penalty that was so easily put in that Caldente walked up to the ball and slotted it into the bottom corner to score one of the coolest penalties I've ever seen. And then he finished it all off a minute before the end of added time at 90+5. For what was, for a long period of time, thinking Crystal Palace might have a way back into this. The floodgates opening, as they would say, and
excellent stuff. Thank you very much for that. I'll just a little bit on the on Russo. That's 6 goals in 6 games for her. Really finding a feat in an Arsenal shirt, and this was the first win as the full-time manager for the new manager whose name you're going to have to remind me of.
Renee Slater.
Thank you very much. Oh, Renee. Sorry, there's an hello reference. Sorry.
So as I go into, as we kind of go into tomorrow, obviously with the quarterfinal against Brighton, I did kind of, as I like to do, go on. And obviously, I don't with my very watch other WSL game. So I always like to go and have a look at the team on Sky Sports app, which always helps. And the really positive thing was to see that in the last 6 games have been 6 wins for Arsenal. So obviously from where we were, a little bit of pandemonium, a bit like the men's side a couple of months ago, to that is nothing short of unbelievable, really. So that was really positive to see. Brighton are coming into it with only 2 wins in the last 2 losses and 2 draws. I believe they're certainly not bottom, because I know that Crystal Palace are bottom. I can tell you they currently sit 5th in the WSL. So
Indeed, they are just below Manchester City.
Yeah, so 5 points below City in 5th. So having a really good season, really, for them. But yeah, I think we're on a different level of confidence at the minute. So I expect us to win that game tomorrow night. But Sunday is Arsenal season in one game, if you can put it that way. We play Chelsea at Sunday at 12:30. If we were to win, we'd go 4 points behind because
Right.
we're 7. If we lose, 10 points behind, which is obviously not mathematically impossible. But Chelsea haven't lost yet all season. You would see very hard.
Yeah, but if you consider where the ladies were from the end of the previous management to where they are now, I think it's an unbeaten run of something like, is it something like 10 or something?
Yeah, it certainly goes way back further than the 6.
Yeah,
I have an exact number off the top of my head.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a good recovery from the women's side. Big game in the cup. Do you think they'll have a few names rested tomorrow in the cup, or do you think they'll go
no
full strength with the knowledge of what you said about Chelsea?
I don't think so, because if you think about it in the terms that even if you get to 4 points behind, they haven't lost already. So it's still very, very unlikely for us to win them. And you have to, if you're in a quarterfinal of a cup, you have to put your strongest side out. Every competition you still want to win it. So I think, thankfully, we're very much different into the men's team that we have got a very yes, we could probably afford to rest 1 or 2, but I don't really think there's any need.
Yeah,
your game still.
Okay, sorry, your mic's sort of cutting out a little bit. It might be on my phone, but okay. I got the gist of what you said. Mm-hmm. So if we move on from the Arsenal women's side for a little bit, I think the last thing I think really that we need to cover, unless there's anything that I've missed out on my notes, is just to talk about the press conference from Mikel Arteta that happened today before our penultimate game in the Champions League group phase against Dynamo Zagreb, which was held today at the Sober Reality Training Centre. And finally, some positive news on people coming back at last. So Calafiori and Ethan Nwaneri back in training, and they could feature in the game tomorrow. Do you think they'll be thrown straight in, or do you think they'll be benched?
I think Calafiori, prior to our conversation earlier tonight, I think Calafiori might be thrown in. I think as well, like we both said, caution with Nwaneri, because I think we really need it against Newcastle and Wolves. Newcastle in particular.
Just for a bit more.
But this is one of those ones that if we've got the bodies to leave him out, I would be very much inclined to do so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of thinking, as you know, I wouldn't want to rush Ethan back into this stage, but especially bear in mind that where we are in the Champions League group, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we're third position, at least going into the games that are going on right now tonight. We're in a great position. I wouldn't necessarily want to rush him back, especially knowing that Saka's still going to be a long way away. Although he seems to be getting better, I'll just quote Arteta: he's got lots of stages to go in his rehab. So that's suggesting there's not really a time scale on what he's going to go through at the moment. So yeah, that's my feeling on that. On William Saliba, and this sounds quite positive. I quite like the Pokemon Go reference here. He's evolving well. So I don't know what form he's taking up.
I don't know what that meant. As I was driving home today, as I stopped, I saw it on my phone, and I thought, what even does that mean? It doesn't make any sense. Like,
it's going to turn into a Mega Saliba. That's what it is.
Yeah, like
it gives him superpowers.
I don't know. I don't know what that means. I didn't even read the article because I thought I just don't want to know, to be honest.
I think what he means is that the injury, the hamstring, doesn't look too bad, and although obviously tomorrow is coming a bit early for him. He is talking about the fact that he could be available for the Manchester City game on the 2nd of February. So that's got to be good news. Is there anything else here? Some of it has been the importance of actually missing the playoff round. Obviously, there's a new way of as I think we're learning as we're going along here in this new stage of the Champions League. And so I think the first 8, I think it is it 8?
It's either 7 or 8. I don't know the number.
I think it's an even number. I think the first 8 go through automatically. And if we get through here, we'll skip the round. And they're talking about, obviously, with an early FA Cup exit, there may be a little bit of a gap. Now, my brain sort of goes back a little bit to last season and what happened when the boys went over to Dubai for a little bit. They evolved themselves back then, and they were revitalised. It's almost like they had a revive potion as well. And yes, they managed to come back. And actually, their form at the end of the season was pretty spectacular, in all fairness, after the them crushing defeats, obviously, to Fulham and West Ham. And then, of course, the Aston Villa one, which ultimately finished us off. But yeah, they're just saying, let's just deal with qualifying first, and then we'll see what happens, and we'll make a decision what happens from that. He was asked, I think probably with a bit of a smile on his face, "You enjoying the transfer window, boss?" And yeah, I love it. So not giving anything away in the press conference, of course, and he's not going to talk about players in particular because that's not his style. Is there anything else? Right. Your thoughts on this. Now, we were talking about needing attacking players and bodies, right? Because especially how we've been void of, like, especially with Jesus being injured and out for unspecified amount of time, at least the rest of the season. And I'm not saying these two can actually replace Jesus, but what I'm going to say is obviously a possibility of the likes of a Fabio Vieira or Reece Nelson being recalled from their loans. Obviously, you know, of course, that Nelson is injured currently over at Fulham. It was kind of talked about a little bit when Vieira was dropped by Porto a few weeks ago that he could come back. Do you think the possibility of them will improve us to an extent, especially with attacking options, which they are?
Yeah, so I don't think it will necessarily improve us to the levels that fans want, but we need bodies in. So if that means you're calling both of them back just to have them there and available, we can't go on with a bench and you got Sterling as an attacker. We really can't.
Certainly, I'll just sort of extend on that. Certainly with Sterling as the only established sort of player. The other players that are there literally are kids, like 18, 19, I think. So, yeah, very young. I think, certainly with Nelson, you know, if he can get fit, at least he has some good things to say about, you know, in his Arsenal career, particularly goal against Bournemouth rings a bell. But, yeah, we'll see if there's any changes on what happens. It will very much depend on his injury situation as well. So we've still got a bit of a while to work out what we're going to do with them. The only other name I do want to bring up, really, maybe a couple of things to bring up. He was asked about one of the young players. I'm talking about really young players that are amongst the Arsenal team. We mentioned a little bit off stream, Sam, about Max Dowman. I believe he's a 15-year-old guy now. He has been doing an awful lot of training with the first team. If you remember how Ethan Nawari came into the first team at 15 on a game that me and Posh Burt he covered for Cannon Chatter back in the day, actually, when he came on as substitute for the last bit of that Brentford game. It was widely talked about. Oh, well, Arteta got a lot of grief for bringing up a young player. Well, Dowman's has come up with, and it's had quite the write up from people at the training ground, and the fact his name was brought up in this press conference for the Champions League was quite interesting, especially with attacking options being as they are, as we've mentioned already. It was asked how he's doing, how impressive has he been seen with the training with the senior team, and he said he's very impressive at his age as well. He does things in training which are unbelievable. Player with a huge talent, and they've got a lot of belief that he's going to develop to become one of a key player in the future. It's doing well at the moment. It does sound like some of its development is getting hindered a little bit because of certain rules and regulations. Now, I didn't know about this until today, but I think there is some sort of restrictions amongst the age of certain players and what if they can play in Champions League, for example, or not. But I think it seems to be a little bit different than it is maybe domestically. I think is probably the best way to put it. There might be some sort of steps as well because of his age and the time that they play as well, actually thinking about that. But I think they are looking to integrate him as much as they can into the squad. That'll be interesting to see another talent come through. It's funny they're talking about him without even being playing in the under-21s.
Yeah. It's
Emerson will know a lot more about him than I do, but he's someone to keep an eye on.
It's crazy what social media and the power of the internet does now as well, though. So obviously we heard a couple of weeks ago, I think, that the name was starting to be mentioned by a couple of media outlets and stuff. So it's actually crazy now that we've got to a point where we can big up a player without actually having really seen him. Because if he hasn't played in the under-21s, then where is anybody be able to see him apart from training clips?
Yeah, exactly. I actually seen some of his own pictures from his own Twitter account as well. So, he seems like he seems to be quite a patient. I saw a picture of him with the clock emoji saying it's almost like, bearing my time, knowing what I'm doing kind of thing, which is quite cool. Is there anything else? I did see some pictures today. Did you see this of him and Edward Arteta and Eduardo da Silva today? Did you see them pictures? I was privileged to see Eduardo playing for Arsenal. I was also there I think it was at the Emirates when he scored against us. I think it was for Prague as well back in the day. Interesting to see him amongst the party today. Don't really have anything to add to that, but he was a great player back in the day, and he was ravaged by injury, and he had a horrible time. He could have been one of the all-time greats, number 9s in Arsenal Football Club. Anything you want to add on him, or are we just about?
I imagine Twitter's now saying he'll be the next in line for the board of directors. I imagine Twitter's already started.
Oh, I see. He's going to be the next Edu, is he?
Yeah, next Edu. I'm sure they've already started that, even though it's just a picture of him and Arteta. I'm sure it's.
I thought it was going to be Rosicky.
Yeah. It could be anybody that turns up through the door, couldn't it? We could have anyone turn up to the Emirates tomorrow, and we're on Twitter saying we're the next.
See if they can cash in their board of directors in the bank contract, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, fair enough. Well, the only thing I think the bottom end of the press conference really was talking about Ethan Nwaneri, just saying that it was a big setback when he went off injured, because he was just starting to make a few starts as well, wasn't he? And he's been played in a number of positions and was doing well. And it's I think especially with homegrown talents, I think the fans really sort of grow into watching these, like we have done with Saka, like we did with Smith Rowe, for example. And yeah, if he does have a part to play, you know, can guarantee that the fans are going to make an awful lot of noise about him. But anything else you want to add? Is there anything else that I might have missed that might have happened since we've been on air, or are we good?
I don't think so. I've on purpose avoided everything to do with Arsenal this week, so I know literally nothing else.
Well, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No, I think it's a weird time to be a fan at the minute, and it likens me to, as much as I hate to say it, towards the back end of Wenger's tenure, when people were fighting amongst themselves in the crowd, and we had the split of 50% of people wanted him in and 50% of the people wanted him out. It's very similar at the moment. So, yeah, obviously it's not got to that extreme yet, but I think certainly if the results keep going as they are currently, getting towards that way, I think, unfortunately.
I get it. I get what you mean. But it's funny, all that criticism's coming when I'll use a quote that I remember vividly from some would argue one of the greatest managers of all time at Arsenal, and George Graham. That guys, we're not second bottom in the Premier League, we're second top. We're also third in the Champions League. We're in a good position to qualify for that. So ultimately there is a bigger picture, and yeah, I know results haven't really gone our way over the last little while, but it's not the be all and end all just yet. Wouldn't it be fun if we just go to Newcastle and do something extraordinary against them in the cup?
I hope so. I really hope.
You know, let's take Isaac back on the train with us as well.
Yeah, it's one of those moments, and it feels really crucial in this next couple of weeks. As I'm thinking about it, do I massively think that between now and the end of the season, if we were going to get a striker between now and next week, it would make a massive amount of difference? I don't really think so.
No,
it might do in terms of us maybe scoring a few more goals, but I think in terms of the league, that is all but gone now. I hate to say it.
Damage is done. Yeah. I get what you mean. Although I like Manuel Petit yesterday trying to say that, but we made up this gap when he played alongside Vieira.
Yeah,
he made a good argument, and fair play to him.
I think those times are slightly different to the times that we're in now, just a little bit. And as I was driving home today, I was kind of thinking about the whole situation as a whole, and what I said at the start of the season. I said that if we come to the end of this season and we haven't won anything, then questions need to be asked of the manager and of the club.
Yeah, I think Arteta will probably have questions about himself as well, in all fairness.
Yeah, so I think I tried my best to stick to that. Because I think doing anything, as I was thinking about it, doing anything rash, like a lot of people are suggesting, again, between now and the end of the season isn't going to change.
No.
So it's one of those ones, isn't it? It's a tough place to be, but you kind of have to accept what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I know I'm trying to sort of wrap it up and everything, but I know I've not seen anything confirmed on this and everything yet, but obviously media were already reporting about Zubimendi signing for the summer, right?
Mhm.
Now that suggests to me the club are gonna, if they've got a plan in mind for a signing that's going to happen in the summer, that would suggest they're going to keep hold of Arteta, because you could get a new manager, whoever it might be. It could be me, for all I know, right? And I could go in and say, but I don't want that player. So I don't, and you know that'll be quite demeaning to the manager if you've got a player that he didn't sign, you brought him in. Now I'm in charge, but I don't want to play it. That's kind of how I think on that one. But like you said, I think he's going to have questions on himself, Arteta. I think we've had a very difficult start to the season. To start the season, we're midway, really, aren't we now? But again, we are second in the league. We're not second bottom. So we'll see where we end up. And who knows, an extraordinary run could happen. I'm going to throw a bit of Meadows positivity in it before I can, because I am, of course, the eternal optimist. And of course, if nothing else goes right, the Arsenal women's side are doing extremely well right now. And maybe they can get a great result in the Cup. And then if we can go and beat Chelsea in the league and the WSL, all of a sudden, doesn't the league heat up a bit as well?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good way? Is that a good way to end it?
Yeah, no, it is. No, it is. Again, so I don't have to think about anything on the other side of things. I think that's fantastic.
Fantastic. Well, I want to say a big thank you to you, Sam, for joining us on our stream tonight. This has been a lot of fun. What have you got coming up? Where can they find you on? I know particularly on Instagram, your social media presence normally is. But what have you got coming up on Wrestle Dogs and all that sort of stuff, mate?
So we're reaching a really exciting time of the year to be a wrestling fan. I don't think it's ever been as exciting as it is right now to be a wrestling fan anyway. But we are reaching Royal Rumble season. It's coming up in 2 weeks' time. So we are hoping that on the channel I have booked the Monday off work just so my sleep schedule can recover. And we are hoping, all fingers crossed, that we can live stream it.
Amazing.
Our reactions, of course, not the pay-per-view.
Of course. Live reactions.
I have to put that in there now, just in case. But other than that, it's the normal weekly shows. I'm behind the scenes also speaking about ideas for little segments of the Sunday show that we can start doing as well. So that's exciting. Brilliant.
So make sure you give Wrestle Dogs a subscribe if you're a wrestling purist like I am. Love appearing on that channel when I get a chance to, mate. So I do the social medias for us as well. Of course, you can find me at Goonerly Mead on X. You can find the channel, of course, at Gooner Gathering. And so I don't know exactly when we're going to resurface. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do a live match stream. Tomorrow's situation on the nights are a little bit difficult, as you've probably seen this evening. But keep an eye on the social media. I'll let you know what's going on. Thank you very much if you've got this far for watching the video. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we're heading out for the evening. Thank you very much for watching us. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.